Hi together, here is Mo speaking. I'm leading the product management and solution management for the data warehousing area. And I'm very excited to talk to you today about our data warehouse cloud solution. And I'm happy to have Fabian with me, who is leading the product management. Hey, Fabian.
Hi Mo, happy to be with you and happy to have everybody on board to show and see the latest and greatest topics all around data warehouse cloud. And with that, Mo, back to you.
That's awesome. Yeah, we are excited to see a lot of things. So we have a nice agenda today prepared for you guys. So we are starting with a small introduction from my side, and then Fabian will go through the different areas of architecture, connectivity, and consumption. I think you're interested in a lot of these topics, and yeah, so happy to start with the intro. So why we decided to build a new data warehouse solution is because we saw that in the market and also at SAP, we had great solutions, but on the other side, it was very IT centric. So we saw that a lot of new demand is coming from the business, new requirement was coming. The companies and especially the customers, they look for more agile, data-driven projects. They don't have so much time for big projects, so they looked a little bit how they can go from a more IT-driven data warehouse landscape to a modern data landscape where they can do really data democratization, where I can say, okay, I have internal data, I have external data. I wanna do some new concepts where I can sell my data. I want to build new business models on top of my data. So we needed to do some changes and say, okay, we decided to build a new solution, which is really concentrated much more in the business analyst and how we can access the data, what he can do with the data. And of course, delivering still a lot of data warehouse functionality and capabilities to bring the data in to have a governed approach. And that is the reason why we developed on the right side Data Warehouse Cloud, but on the left side, we still have, of course, our BW and HANA SQL data warehousing on-premise solution. So if you want to stay at on-premise, we have a very strong offering here already with thousands of customers. On the right side, if you say, I want to go to the cloud and say, I want to really use the new business features on top on my data warehousing, you can use the hybrid approach, for example, or you can go, for example, fully to the cloud. For example, new SF4 customer, they say, okay, I would like to use Data Warehouse Cloud on top on S4 directly. Or we have big BW customers, they're saying, I want to use Data Warehouse Cloud on top on BW. I want to reuse my investment, and then I would like to join the data in the cloud with other sources. So the statement direction is very, very clear. So we are investing in both areas, on-premise and cloud. Of course, in the business features, we are investing more in the cloud than on-premise. We have very strong products on-premise, you know that. And that's why most of the customers who are deciding today on Data Warehouse Cloud, they're having already an SAP footprint, but also customers, they're having both an external SQL server, SAP, and saying how we can bring that together. And the semantic layer will be Data Warehouse Cloud, for example. And that is always the challenge that we have. We had IT, we have business, and they need to find a place where they can work together. And Data Warehouse Cloud was exactly built for that, to empower the business and also, but still that the IT has a strong governance use case in place. But at the end, you can't do like a Wild Wild West solution. No, we need to have governance, and that is what we need to have a strong security concept, authorization concept. We know there are strong connectivity options. We need to have this workflow really governed from the IT. But on the other side, we give the full flexibility to the business to do more, because what we saw is that a lot of business department, if we don't give them more freedom, what they're doing is they're extracting the data from the data warehouse and starting to build their own data warehouse solution on their computer, right? So, and building and buying their own BI tools. And then nobody knows exactly which KPI shows what. And this is what we don't want. And that's why the reason is that Data Warehouse Cloud, of course, is more business oriented, but on the other side, the IT has here a strong seat also to provide the governance and to also to manage the whole system and connectivity landscape. So Data Warehouse Cloud brings a lot of new functionality, especially in like business cataloging, agile data preparation, analytics, lineage. So really some nice cool features, and it's a cloud solution. So it's a software as a service solution, and you can immediately start with your projects and doing some prototypes, POC, loading data in. You can use our trial, for example, where you can test already the software. And this is the nice thing. So it's very easy to use, and how you access the data. It's also, so the whole workflow, yeah, how to join the data, how to bring the data together, is very with a like wizard approach, right? So you can really learn from the scratch, and the business analysts love that because they know already Excel and they are very strong in Excel. And if they see data, was say, okay, that I don't need to program and code something, I can really drag and drop and bring the data here together. And one of the top use cases, of course, is bringing data together from different sources. Yeah, so bringing data from different cloud solutions, SAP, non-SAP, and but also S4 combining with BW data. That's typical approaches and typical scenarios where we see that customers really like that, and that's why the reason like Porsche, PwC, they're really deciding to go with us this journey and to build really new use cases, and saying, I don't have a BW area, I don't have a Microsoft at the end, I want to have one semantic data platform, and this is Data Warehouse Cloud, which brings everything together. And what we decided at the beginning, so this is my job and Fabian's job, that we say we need to really look what the customers want to do with the product. Yeah, is it really that they get business value out of it? And that's why we kicked off a lot of programs, like the early adopter care program, the beta programs, that we, for each component, where Fabian will go through that in detail, we have a very nice plan. We get feedback. We're having sessions with the customers. We're having product management assigned to accounts. Yeah, where we see really we need to have a very cross collaboration with them to understand we are doing here the right thing. And that's I'm very happy with the big customers who are already on board with Data Warehouse Cloud and give us great feedback and are already live with the solution. And if you see here 3 very interesting programs, like the data flow, the data intelligence integration, or the BW model transfer, where we're really connecting your BW investments to Data Warehouse Cloud to leverage that really. On the right side, you have the semantic layer, which is an awesome solution which nobody has in the market, where we as a SAP building an umbrella over all the different data sources in your company which you have. So the IT, so the business department will hiding the complexity of the technical data models and definition. All this kind of programs are really great, and we are happy to share that more in detail if you contact us. And yeah, going to the next slide, you will see that we are talking now about the architecture and features. So Fabian is leading the product management, and he knows everything in detail, and happy to have him here with me. And back to you, Fabian.
Yeah, thank you, Mo, and thanks for this perfect segue and introduction into Data Warehouse Cloud and what Data Warehouse Cloud is actually all about. So before we go into every feature details, let's get an overview first of what is Data Warehouse Cloud actually about, and like what is it being comprised of. And I want you to focus on this blue area on this slide. And what you right away see that Data Warehouse Cloud is actually, it's already combining technologies from SAP. So it's fully featuring SAP HANA Cloud. Now, it's not only that Data Warehouse Cloud is simply sitting on top of SAP HANA Cloud and like utilizing the functionalities. It also, we are bringing additional services to it. I guess most prominently is like the data modeling service that we sit on top, and the business modeling service that we place on top of HANA Cloud, which like really brings business users or business analysts into the position to start the business modeling, what Mo already referred to. But besides that, we bring a whole bunch of other services, like for instance, governance as well as security, in order to help our customers and help you in the end to perfectly manage your data warehouse, and still utilizing all the functionalities and possibilities that you get with SAP HANA Cloud. Is it the virtual access, so that I don't need to do upfront data movement into Data Warehouse Cloud, or is it the possibility to simply switch from virtual to replicated? And also on the other hand side, to simply integrate storage extensions like it is a data lake or so. And so this is really what Data Warehouse Cloud is about. And in its inner core, okay, we are leveraging SAP HANA Cloud, but on top of that, we're also deeply integrating with SAC, meaning all the investment that you bring into Data Warehouse Cloud will be fully accessible from your SAC So that means you don't need to double invest in all your BI modeling efforts that you are placing. And we also know it's reality. Besides of SAC, there are other solutions out there that you are running within your company, within your enterprise. And so we designed Data Warehouse Cloud that way that it deeply integrates with SAC on the one hand side, but that it is open to other tools. Leveraging APIs in order to help you not only connect tools out there, but data-driven apps that you run within your company can also be simply attached to Data Warehouse Cloud, leveraging the full potential and the full information that you start to build up in Data Warehouse Cloud. So now starting and running along the services that we have seen, let's start off with the governance services that we have in place. And if you think of that today, like how are business analysts actually doing their work, their job today? It's classically, you have a central system that is governed and where all the company data sits in. And so the business analysts are classically caught on their PC, on like Excel, as Mo said. And so they need to do all the work outside of your governed, of your controlled area. So what we don't say is that we want to have business analysts like always need to be under control, but what we want to have is like that you build out trusted data, trusted information in your company, and that you also get all the information a business analyst start to build out back into one place. And this is like these black and gray area that Mo was showing before, like with the freedom and the governance on the other hand side. How do we achieve that in Data Warehouse Cloud? It's quite simple. We have a functionality that's being called spaces, and it's like the fundament that we have built into Data Warehouse Cloud. It allows for a lot. So it's not only like a playground that you can build out for your LOBs, for your business analysts to simply get going, but it's also helping you in terms of to guarantee the compute and storage elasticity that you need, meaning you can by that control the resources. You can decide on which spaces do I maybe need to take down because there is no workload or no usage on that. And by that one, it's like from an IT perspective, giving you the administration back and helping you to better steer your data warehouse without having like orphan spaces or like shelfware in the end that is only there but never really being used. And along with that, it's not only about this elasticity topic, but it's also like giving you the possibility to steer like who is getting access to which of the spaces, who is allowed to do what. And in the end, it's like the central element that you will find throughout all the other services that we were talking about that helps you from a governance perspective to really allow to control who is doing what at what place, but at the same time, giving business users the ability to really get a playground on where they can start off with their first steps in Data Warehouse Cloud, which today, quite often they are locked out and they are still being around in their classical Excel solutions as we know them. And so the spaces are not only a playground to start, it's also a possibility to you to gradually extend your enterprise steering model, if you will. So you think of you starting out with a finance space. So what you need to attach to this finance space is like you have to have in your S4 system, right? Keeping like all of the relevant financial information. You might be interested in getting into SAP SuccessFactors to get to the HR, to reveal all the HR or payroll relevant information. And then on the other hand side, there might be plans in Excel, right? So you want to get them in as well. And this is exactly what we allow for. And we're starting off with the finance space, and you can expand that gradually to a customer 360 space where you bring in, again, your S4 data, but you enrich it. Instead of with like SuccessFactors, for instance, you bring in LinkedIn data, you bring in Salesforce data to really build out this customer 360 view, and you go ahead with HR spaces. So in the end, spaces help you as a customer to build out the journey and to eventually get to a full-blown data warehousing solution, but it's like a gradual step that you take. And by that one, instantly leveraging back value to the business and not like drowning first in building out one central warehouse where you sit in, where you build out everything, and then once you go out there. So the spaces are really a great way of getting flexibility to you as IT, but also to the business. Now that we have talked about spaces, let's jump onto data sources and ingestion, like how do I bring data to Data Warehouse Cloud? And there's one clear principle that we follow, and that is always in Data Warehouse Cloud, we don't require you to do upfront data movement. That means you always start out federated and build out your virtual modeling. Once you feel safe and secure and that you modeled the right thing, then you start to gonna look at what do I need to do performance-wise? What do I need to do to manage my workload, etc.? And what you see on this overview slide is the amount of connectors that we are supporting today, or we will be supporting throughout the second half of this year, and also what we are going to do future-wise in this regards. Now, from the data sources that we're gonna connect, let's dive a little bit deeper on how do I actually do data modeling in Data Warehouse Cloud. And first and foremost, we see this entry screen, and we will later on see that in the demo as well, is like the possibilities that you have from a data modeling perspective. There are a few of them. So you have the possibility to build out an ER model that describes well on how your table and how your information and data, not information, but rather data belongs together, how it relates to each other. And it's a good starting point to document what is already there today and how does it even belong together. Because classically, if you look at like opening up a source system, pulling in all the data, you pretty sure will quite soon lose track on like all the plenty of objects that you have there. So it's on the one hand side essential to you to have an overview, to keep an eye on how does these different data sources refer to each other. Then next to it, it's about like the view modeling, like how do I now integrate the data together? How do I bring all the different data sources together to build out a curated data view, if you will, that contains all the relevant aspects. Like if I'm looking at sales data, I might have sales order items. I need to bring that together. And this is exactly what you're going to do in the data builder section. And besides that, we are talking about a federated approach, but we also, on the other hand side, support you with your ELT or ETL processes, meaning we bring in, or like Mo was referring to that in the beta, we bring in the data flow. And the data flow is exactly a dedicated tool that helps you to, on the one hand side, ingest data, transform data, cleanse data, and do all the work and all the different aspects to kind of massage the data in order to get to this one representation that you later on want to have in your semantical layer. And with that, let's maybe take a closer look on how this exactly looks like. And I'm now zooming in a bit on the data flow, as you might already be pretty well, or as you know pretty well already about how classical view modeling works, but the data flow is maybe something different. So it gives you really the possibility to, on the one hand side, integrate disparate data sources, meaning it's unstructured, is it structured data? You can bring that together and start modeling on top of it. So it's not only about these classical, I attach a data lake or something that contains unstructured data, but I can also now combine it with, like, for instance, SAP sources and other relational databases that we see out there. And there are different ways on how you can achieve that. Now I have the data sources, right? And now I can maybe go with some standard transformations on how I combine that. Like, is it I gonna aggregate the data to a certain level? I gonna join, I gonna filter, union certain things away, all the things that I would do to actually get to this one curated data source. And it helps me in the end to really cleanse and massage the data to get to this one representation. And all this is, I have the possibility to go with standard transformations. Beyond, I have the possibility to go with a scripting approach, meaning I can use Python to do some data cleansing or some data matching, which I maybe could not do via standard transformations. So I really have, even in the data flow, I have the span to go quite easy and start out easy. And if I see, hey, I need something that is more mature, I simply switch over to a scripting approach. And by that one, bring both of the worlds together and not only serve a classical technician, but also to have somebody that is maybe keen about modeling, but not so much about scripting. He has even a starting point. Still though, if there's something he cannot accomplish, there will be a handover. But it's important to understand this is all happening in one tool, and there are not a variety of tools where then a certain handover is taking place. Now, we have looked at how do I bring now data together, right? And how do I build out what I called this curated data sources, which is like the a certain representation of a customer, of an employee, of my budget, of my actuals information, maybe also about the sales information that we were talking about, like everything that is around, like what sales order did I have? And now we are looking onto how do I, how will I be able with Data Warehouse Cloud to get that exposed? And for that reason, we introduced the business layer, the business modeling. You could also refer to that as the semantical layer that we place with Data Warehouse Cloud on top of everything. And in the end, what we have seen, if you looked out in the market, and Mo was already referring to that to a certain degree, is there's classically in data warehousing solutions no central place where business users can, on the one hand side, find, but also create and change business definitions. What we mean by that is like you classically look for a central place where you find all your KPIs. On the one hand side, well described. On the other hand side, well defined, meaning I don't want to have the same KPI multiple times in different flavors, in different definitions. And so this is exactly what the business layer wants to address. It wants to be this one central semantical place where I find all the KPIs, where I find all my business definitions, and I can simply reuse what is there. I can start build out new things, and I can, by that one, build up from a company standpoint of view, somewhat of a collective intelligence by having all my business users at this one central place instead of being shattered around in different solutions. Is it like a classical analytics solution? Is it Excel or whatever? And for that reason, we have the business layer. So what we see on this on a screenshot on the right hand side is actually a way on how I can now easily bring together different business information and being completely independent of the underlying data layer. And what we also see from the screenshot, and we might be seeing that to a certain degree in the demo, is I don't need to take care about any technical aspects. Do I now need to join? Do I now need to union certain information to get to the expected result? So it's really business user friendly, taking it away from this you have to know the modeling work. And on the other hand side, we already talked about that, is like it's the one business definition that you will find throughout the entire business layer. And in the end, we hide away all the complexity it takes to get to these curated data sources. Like everything I need to do to streamline, whether I stack views over each other or whether I build out complex data flows, I only take the result, and this is what I present in the business layer. I associate all these elements with each other, and by that one, give business user the fundament of, or the foundation of what they need to have in place in order to build out in a demand-driven fashion their business logic, their business scenarios, which they in the end need to properly steer the business or take the right business decisions. And no, it's not only about this business layer and this business modeling. This comes together with the business catalog. So this one central place where I find all the relevant information, where I can simply look at and find, see, this is sales data is already available. I don't need to reinvent the wheel. I simply use what is already there. And besides that, we also find it important that you always have lineage information along with that. So that it's not only about you see, there's something there, but that you also understand on how is it actually coming together. Like what is on the one hand side, like how is it being built up? But on the other hand side, also to understand if I change something in here, what does it impact? And what do I need to take care of? And this is more specifically for a classical modeling user. I change something underneath, and what is the impact on top of that? Taking it onwards, now that we have the business layer. So we were talking about data layer. How do I bring data together? Business layer, what do I want to actually bring to life? What do I want to have in terms of KPIs? Now let's look at the consumption, like how can I now access that? And this is exactly the place where we bring together SAP Data Warehouse Cloud and SAP Analytics Cloud. With the embedded and SAP Analytics Cloud that is available in Data Warehouse Cloud, we allow you to directly consume all the result or visualize all the modeling efforts that you had in this one tool. And it's not only about that we integrate SAC. I was referring to that already before. At the same time, you can use the exact same KPIs, the exact same modeling efforts that you made so far. You can use that for any other third-party tool on top of it, for process management or data-driven apps. Bringing you to the place that this business layer and the data modeling layer in the Data Warehouse Cloud gets one of these central places where you will bring in all your modeling efforts and directly have it available in any other analytics tool on top of it. And this is exactly how we envision it. And it's like the overview of what we are talking about. On the left-hand side, we have all these disparate data sources. We have SAP Data Warehouse Cloud at the center in this picture, where we have the data layer about harmonizing, streamlining data to these curated data sources, have the business layer next to it. What we have here with the bubbles to actually build out your star or snowflakes from a textbook point of view, and get them combined with each other. Build your consumption models on top of it, like what you really need in order to take the right decisions, and then have SAP Analytics Cloud sitting on top of it, whether you use it ad hoc for some exploration, whether you do some visualization on top of it, or whether you want to augment or plan on the underlying information. With that, we were now talking about a lot of functionalities and features, but what you might be interested in, or what is like a very relevant thing, is we also deliver, based on Data Warehouse Cloud, certain business content. What it means is that we want to provide standardized dimensions, hierarchies, facts, actually everything you need to get a jump start. We also do understand that content is always something you're going to start off with, and it's not the ultimate ratio of what you get. And this is exactly what we are thinking out for with the content. And for this regards, like, we provide you with the predefined modeling, if you will, but also for you, giving you the possibility, you as a customer, to adapt it to your needs. What we do is, on the one hand side, we invest from SAP perspective to build out LOB and industry content that can act as a starting point. We have sample content in place. We will also see that shortly in the demo. And on the other hand side, we have partners that build out content directly within Data Warehouse Cloud, giving you the possibility to also get some curated content that is then maybe a bit more specific and a bit more broader to your industry. And by that one, giving you the best possibility, the best jumpstart within Data Warehouse Cloud. Now, Mo was already referring to that one, that Data Warehouse Cloud, it's not only that we say Data Warehouse Cloud stands on its own, but it's also that we see BW and Data Warehouse Cloud can act better together. If you're sitting today on BW and you're thinking out for business user empowerment, for ways on how you can achieve semantic modeling in a sense of that you build out this broad semantic layer that is accessible from everywhere, that you're looking for cross-functional reporting, especially from a standpoint of view, not LOB wise, but that you want to combine SAP and non-SAP data. Is it like attaching to a data lake? Is it attaching to, for instance, Google BigQuery? This is exactly what we bring together with Data Warehouse Cloud. still allowing you to leverage all the BI investments that you made before, but simply combining it, enriching it with data that might be sitting elsewhere that you are not capable to attach today, or data sizes that you simply don't want to move in your BW system. And last but not least, it's about openness, right? I already emphasized that throughout the talk quite often, that Data Warehouse Cloud classically or clearly focuses on how do I open up data, how do I open up the BI investments and like all the modeling efforts that I have made directly in Data Warehouse Cloud. Ultimately, as a benefit, you on the one hand side democratize data and information access, and help, or we help you as a customer to gain the information consistency that you need along your entire value chain, ultimately helping you with improving decision making by delivering actually information in time, achieved by bringing BW and SAP Data Warehouse Cloud together into one play. And with that, like, there was a lot of talking. Let's jump right away into the demo, where I will show you some of the functionalities and features in action, and where I will definitely also re-emphasize on the different aspects that we bring to the game with Data Warehouse Cloud.
Now that we were talking a lot about functionality and features in Data Warehouse Cloud, let's take a closer look on Data Warehouse Cloud and what it brings to the table. So we're going to start out with the spaces, as they are one of the fundamental concepts in Data Warehouse Cloud. We see a lot of spaces that we use for content clustering in this regard. And I'm going to start out with my DWC content space. First and foremost, I see the possibility to define resources that I want to allocate to the space in terms of disk, memory sizing, but also about space priority, meaning like if we have concurrent requests floating in, like what priority shall be given to the queries belonging to my DWC content space. So I have a medium priority selected. Also, I defined whom of my colleagues are allowed to model change objects within my DWC content space. With this defined, I can also set up connections. And in here, we support a greater variety of SAP sources. So like SAP ABAP, SAP HANA, as one of the source systems that we support, but also like I can attach my ECC system and also cloud solutions like SAP Fieldglass or Marketing Cloud. Along with that, we also support hyperscalers like Google BigQuery, Amazon Athena, but also we allow to attach partner platforms like Adverity or others. Now that I have set up my space properly, I also will be looking into how do I get a quick start. And for that reason, we foster the content network. The content network allows to bring in sample content, business content that is pre-delivered by SAP, but also third-party business content. Let's take a closer look at that. So we have a variety of partners that deliver certain models, certain content, and let's take a closer look at data side. They deliver e-commerce insights, and I can get some details on what this content brings with, how to install this package, or what to consider. If I feel confident, I can import that one. The one central entry point that we offer with Data Warehouse Cloud is the business catalog. It gives you an overview across all the different objects available in your Data Warehouse Cloud instance. And this can act as the central entry point for any modeling task that I take. Now, let's take a closer look on the business builder. So we're going to open up the DWC content space again, and I see there's already one business entity available. A business entity defines a standardized / curated model or entity within Data Warehouse Cloud, and I can define measures, attributes, also associations, meaning like which other business entities maintain associations with bike sales data, and by that one I have a good starting point to find the right business content that I would be looking at. How do we bring together all this data is manifested in the data builder. The data builder is then actually the place where I do all the data integration, the data transformation work. And as soon as the data builder opens up, I can take a closer look on that one. Let's pick up the bike sales example that we're looking on right now in the business builder. And I do see in here like how my bike sales data is actually being brought together. So I see I have certain measures, attributes that actually are being a combination of sales orders and sales order items. So it's not only about defining attributes and measures, but also how do I bring data together in order to get to this one bike sales view. Along with that, we also, besides this graphical view modeling, we allow to model along or do some more mature modeling by utilizing SQL as one of the modeling capabilities. So if I have like more difficult use cases, I can also go directly on the SQL views. Now, the tables that we were looking at and that we're actually building up my bike sales data, they are always, and this is a good thing about Data Warehouse Cloud, first and foremost, utilizing live data access. If I decide at a later stage, I need to guarantee performance, I want to offload the workload from my remote systems, I can switch simply to replicated in here. And all of what we have seen before, the view that we build on top of a certain table, the business entities, are then simply utilizing the replicated table. I can define refresh frequencies, if it's like a real-time replication that I want to use, or whether I want to have like a one-time snapshot that is being taken from there. That is all what I can define within the data integration monitor, and by that one simply switch between replicated and federated access. Once I have done all my foundational work, I can also right away jump into the embedded SAC story building, and I can utilize the view that we have built before and simply now build up a story based on this view without having to even switch between the two solutions.
Yeah, so this was the demo about Data Warehouse Cloud, and we were super happy to have you with us on this entire journey. If you're interested in other areas, and if you are more specifically interested in the areas on how BW4 plays together with Data Warehouse Cloud, how cloud solutions integrate from cloud solutions from SAP integrate into SAP Data Warehouse Cloud, or if you are even interested in BW for HANA and what is on the roadmap and the latest innovations that we have, then we clearly recommend you the sessions that we have listed below. Also, make sure that you check out our public SAP websites that will give you all the details on the different data warehousing aspects. And also check out our roadmap, where you will always see the latest and greatest stuff that we're building out for you in the area of data warehousing, and specifically for Data Warehouse Cloud. Also make sure that you join and subscribe to the different learning areas that we offer to you, or that we're offering you from a TechEd perspective. And with that one, Mo, over to you.
Thank you, Fabian. That was really, really exciting. Thank you to go through the different aspects of the product. I want to only say to everybody, Data Warehouse Cloud will be a game changer in the market. So customers love already Data Warehouse Cloud, what they already see. Please try it out. Contact us directly. You want to get more technical information, please send me or Fabian an email. We are happy to help and guide you to the right resources, or bring you in contact with us. We need partners, we need in-house consultants, we need everybody to support us with this journey, to test the software, give us feedback. But I'm very happy that we have already so much partners on board and customers which driving this journey going forward. With that, thank you very much and enjoying the other sessions. Bye bye.